Hey girl, so glad that you tuned in. My name is Bethany, and this is the Make Up Your Mind channel. You're listening to episode number 12. Whether you're putting on your makeup in the morning, maybe you're getting ready for work or school at home, maybe you're in the coffee drive-thru, wherever life finds you today, I hope that you remember that there are people that are for you, cheering you on to succeed. Today, I hope I get to be one of those people standing on the sideline of your life, reminding you and helping you to make up your mind all day long about the small decisions that add up to the big decisions later on. We have been in a series on romantic relationships recently, and today I'm really excited because we have a guest with us on the channel. The one, the only, Dionis Agustin, my husband. I know that you guys haven't really gotten to meet him yet, but to me, it feels like he's a huge part of what happens here because he actually records and produces and edits this whole channel. So he's a huge part, and I can't wait for you guys to get to meet him. So let's welcome him. Hey babe, so glad that you're here today. The one and the only. He's usually on the other side of the camera.
It's definitely different on this side.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of kind of fun, goofy questions.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Because I feel like all the ladies out there need to get to know you a little bit. So we're going to start out with this one. What is your favorite snack of all time?
I think a go-to of mine has to be Oreos. I could eat like a row in one sitting easily, which
Easily.
I stopped doing because of you.
Yep.
So
We now have a limit, but he doesn't always abide by it.
yeah.
And it's okay. Oreos are good. And how do you like to eat your Oreos?
Definitely dunked in milk, like in one bite, so they have to be like fully submerged and then...
And held under the milk for a couple seconds.
But my fingers, I don't like my fingers. I'm not an animal.
Okay. Are you a cat or a dog person?
Ooh. I have to say yes.
Yes.
I am.
Both.
Yeah. I grew up with dogs and cats, so I love dogs. I love cats. I have a cat right now. We have a cat.
Yep.
And he's the best. So.
He is the best. We hope to have a dog one day too, but right now, life is a little too busy.
I think I probably lean... I grew up loving my dogs, so I think I bond better with dogs, but yeah. I love my cat.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next question is, what are your interests and hobbies, if you have any?
Yeah, I love listening to music. I also...
Really like fun sound equipment?
Yeah.
Getting new sound equipment?
Yeah, playing... And I'm not even good at it, and I think that one of the biggest things is cars. I love cars. I like to be around them, drive them, and yeah, see what they could do.
What is one interesting fact about you?
I am colorblind. I can only see black and white and gray.
Yeah. No, but heavily colorblind. What color is your sweater?
It's green.
Yeah. No. He knows what color it is.
I think it's yellow.
Yeah. But there's been some pretty funny instances where he's gotten very wrong color choices. But that'll be another story for another time. Last but not least, this is one of my favorite questions ever. What is your best pickup line?
I have a lot of pickup lines, more as like jokes. But I think the best one that I've ever... I don't think I've used it. I never used it. But okay, so this is what it is. Can you hold this while I go for a walk?
Oh, yeah.
And then go on a walk together.
That's cute. All right. Yeah, you're full of it. Okay, well, like I said, we've been going through a series on relationships, and we've been talking about all kinds of things. We've been talking about dating. We've been talking about the DTR. We've been talking about red flags, lots of red flags.
All really good stuff.
Yeah, super good and informational, hopefully, for all of you ladies out there. And today, I was thinking it would be fun to kind of get into the mind of a guy real quick and just talk about like what it's like to be a guy that's dating, as well as maybe some dating tips for the ladies from a man.
Who has dated? I don't date anyone. Well, I guess I date you.
You date me.
But I'm not going on.
Yeah. All right. So, firstly, why don't you fill us in a little bit on the history of your dating?
I think I would say I started dating as in elementary school. My first girlfriend was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
My sister made me kiss her. And like the
Your
whole
sister made you.
I remember like recess, like it was like the big thing. And so growing up, it's always been a thing. Like you have a girlfriend, you know, you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, you know, you're dating. You guys go see movies together. You go to each other's houses. Your parents pick you up. You might get like
You ride your bike.
yeah, ride my bike over to their house.
Yeah.
Parents drop them off, and you have to sit, or you have to like back in the day when you have to call and be like, "Hey, is so and so home?" And it's like their dad on the that's yeah, days of the past. But yeah, and then growing up, going into high school, I didn't really date all that much. I definitely would say I've dated girls, or I was like labeled boyfriend, girlfriend with a girl because they liked me first. And so I would just be like, oh, they're interested in me? Interesting. Let's just see how this goes. You know, because it was kind of like a thing where it's like a status thing, maybe in a guy's mind. Maybe it is for girls too, but
oh yeah, for sure.
It's a thing to have a relationship. So if you're in a relationship, you have someone to like walk around with you and you can show off like, oh, I'm mature.
Yeah, well, and it's like, I'm in a relationship, I've made it. Like, I think for a girl too, it's like, it for sure is a status thing where you walk around the hall at school and you're like, look at me, I've made it. I have a relationship. Everybody else wants a relationship and I have what everyone wants.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same type of thing for guys in the sense of, it's more of like, look who I have. Like, look who I got.
Yeah.
Not just like I have a relationship, but it's who. Like,
okay.
So it's kind of a status thing. Or like, yeah, they like to show it off.
So what do you think, and maybe the status thing is it, but what do you think was your number one motivator for dating girls growing up?
Well, I think for me at least, I thought that I was more mature by having a relationship. And so I think that's because it was modeled in TV or, you know, the music that we would listen to. Yeah. I would look at older kids, you know, or older people in a relationship and be like, oh, they're cool. They got it because they're in a relationship, you know, whether it's the sports athlete, you know, and they have the girlfriend in the stands or.
Yeah, it was kind of the American, this is how you do it. You grow up, you get a boyfriend or girlfriend in high school, you date, whatever, maybe you get married, whatever. And that's just kind of like the progression of things.
Yeah, and doing it just to do it. And it really didn't go deeper than that, if I could be honest.
Yeah, and do you think that's the same for a lot of guys?
Probably for the younger you are, so probably like middle school, high school, I think that you're more prone to be doing that just because it's like what's expected of you with your peer group.
Yeah, and do you think it also could be, and I don't know if this is true, I think it is true for girls, to some extent you're looking to be someone? And you're kind of looking for who you are for so long, and that you're kind of looking to find part of your identity in a relationship.
Yeah. And you're validated through it too.
Validation.
So you've one find identity, but then you're validated through it because like, oh, I have that person by my locker.
And it's public validation too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And I know that there are those of you that are listening who are older. Maybe some of you ladies are young adults in college, in your early 20s. So what would you say to those girls as they're getting more serious in dating? Mm-hmm. What kind of goes through the mind of a guy as far as dating, like as you're starting to get older?
Well, I think you intentionally get more serious. For the most part, we get more serious. And so I know when we first started dating, it was kind of like, hey, we aren't really wanting to play games.
Yeah.
We like... And we were slow going, like right at the beginning, like, is this something that we actually want to start and initiate? And so I know that there's people that want to do a relationship right, but I think that a lot of times it's still a game. I had a coworker that he would talk about like how he has girls like on like a list that he could just call and know that he could reach out to them.
And so get some just for a night or whatever.
And, just get the benefit of, the affection side and letting that either fill him up and make him feel loved or valued, but not doing it because he himself loves that person.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that that's like the no-brainer of what society like labels young people in relationship.
Yeah.
Is that they're just like in it for themselves. But I think that as I have guy friends, and so just like hearing how they talk about things or how they approach dating, sometimes it's strictly just to get what they want and or it's like the game to see how much they could get or how far they could go.
Yeah.
And just like punch scorecards and all of that.
Yeah. And so when we think about that and we think about dating, it really needs to be a moment for us as ladies to be able to like kind of set ourselves free from that and go, okay, what do I need to look for so that I can see that as a red flag? Like, how do I know that that's the kind of guy that I'm interacting with? Because for me, like, personally, maybe you're out there and you feel differently. Personally, I wouldn't want to interact with a guy like that that's only taking from me and not ever giving back, because that's what relationship is. It's two sides giving to one another. And so what do you think are some red flags that I could look for as a lady in some of these relationships to know that the guy is going to be kind of an idiot?
I think what comes to my mind instantly is like they talk about themselves and they only talk about themselves and they're trying to impress you with themselves and they're not actually wanting to like then turn the conversation towards you or like even hear what your thoughts are. So I think a lot of times guys are like trying to puff themselves up and like whether it's their accomplishments, you know, how well they're doing at their job, how much money they have, and that they're just like really building their own life.
Or for high schoolers, the position they play on the football team or the grades they got in school. That's probably not something that dudes brag about. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so I think that I think for girls to know, like, if you're serious about dating and you do value yourself, there's going to be guys that are going to be attracted to you. I think that guys find that attractive, but I think that guys will also think of it as like a sport, like, oh, I bet you I can. And so I think that if they're genuinely interested in you and they are confident in themselves, they're going to ask. They're not just going to talk about themselves, but they'll probably want to tell you stuff about them for you to know them better. You know, there's a difference, like, of them talking about themselves just to, like, you know, show how cool they are versus, like, hey, this is me in my life. And, like, you know, this is who I am. And they want you to, like, start to want to, like, be attracted to that.
Yeah, and also reciprocate that about themselves.
And you're like, oh, wow, your family sounds really awesome, you know, and talk about family life or goals in life. And then how would she fit in that? And
I feel like, to me, like, if a guy is going to be interested enough to talk to me and want to know about me and ask about me and want to get to know me on a deeper level, that shows that he's able to care for me. And actually that he does care for me, which is a big deal because you don't want a guy that's just obsessed with himself. Am I right?
No, because I'm sure that would get really dull and boring.
So on the topic, you kind of mentioned like that you find it attractive when a woman is like kind of knows who she is. What is it about women that is attractive to men?
Well, I almost want to like flip it because I think we should take it to ourselves first. And you got a question about like how did I know you were one for me? Like how did I know?
That was a question we got on the Instagram.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really good question because I wasn't even thinking about making it super personal. And so I think what attracted me to you is that, like, one, I could see that you enjoyed life for yourself. Like, you didn't need at least it seemed like you didn't need anyone to tell you that you are really cool. You just like put that off. But then you had like a desire for your life and you wanted to go somewhere and you wanted to do something and you had passion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then it helps that you are also very attractive. And so physically, I was attracted to you. Looking at where I wanted to go in life, and even though I was pretty young and I still didn't fully have like a big picture, like exactly what it looks like outlined, I could go, man, I could see myself with someone like her. I know that if I end up with someone like Bethany, that she wouldn't let me sit idly by. She wouldn't let me become lazy.
Yeah.
Not that I would be dependent on that, but that would be something that I would go, man, that's like propelling. That's like having someone that complements like where you want to go in life. That propels you in life.
Yeah.
What do men find attractive? I think that in a level of like women being independent enough, like, I mean, guys want to be able to provide and they want to be able to feel like they're giving of themselves. Like that's, I think every guy, they might not say it like that, but that's like built into each guy. And so I think what guys find attractive in women is that they are someone that they could help, that they could come alongside and give their lives to. You know, I think that's what guys are intrinsically meant and designed to be like. So what I think that guys are attracted to in women is that they are able to come alongside of a woman and give their lives to them and like be a help and support and like provide. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain that. But I think it's also attractive to men where they could look at a woman and go, man, she has drive for her life and she's a go-getter, you know? I think that could be intimidating to a lot of guys, but I think that it's also an attractant. And I guess also going into that, it's like, does that girl have a desire for her life? You know, it could be simple, like she could, if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, that's totally fine. But if she has drive for her life and she wants to go somewhere, and I think that stuff like that is just really attractive.
Well, it says that they have, like, they know what their identity is really what it's saying. Yeah. It's saying that, like, she has something to be passionate about because she knows who she is and she knows where she's going and what she wants. And I think that probably is really attractive. I think that that's attractive for a woman to see in a man as well, that they would know who they are and where they're going. And that really brings us back to our first episode in this series on know who you are and whose you are.
Yeah.
Because when you know that, when you start there in a relationship and you work on yourself and you look at yourself and you're able to say, like, this is who I am and this is who I'm becoming and this is who I'm striving to become, and also receiving that identity from God and from, you know, as my father, like, as I receive that identity, that really builds up my character and it really builds up who I am.
But the thing is that I think a lot of girls go into relationships or into dating, whether it's even online. I think that there's a trap there, because I think there's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing or what they're called to, or, you know, where they're going. And so what happens is guys catch that. And so I think a lot of times guys get stuck into this, like, okay, do I man up and, like, pursue the woman that calls me to be a greater man, or do I pursue the woman that's really easy?
Wow.
And
yeah.
I think that's a really shallow thing for me to, like, expose. But I think that's where a lot of guys think, and that's where they camp out on, is that, man, which of those two do I go after? And I think more often than not, they go after what's easy, because it's calling for less of them and they just get lazy. And so I don't know if this is taking your question to a different level, but I think a lot of guys take advantage of girls that are, like, in a sense, easy prey, because they don't demand a lot for the man to, you know, to give of themselves. And I think that's probably just, like, the fallen side of man, is that we'll go for the easy, you know, because there's satisfaction on our side and it feels good. And so I would say, like, girls, get to know yourself, get to know what you're passionate about, and don't settle yourself for a guy just because he's interested in you. Is what he wants in life and where he's headed and what he's passionate about, does that complement you? And I think that's where I was trying to go with what attracted me to you, is that, like, I could see myself doing life with this girl, not just because I'm attracted to her, but because we're passionate about the same things. We're passionate about people. We're passionate about
Jesus.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, you took that right out of my mouth. And so, we're passionate about our families. Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't want to be with someone who isn't passionate about God and the church and about young people.
Yeah. I think that a lot of girls get flattered when a guy says, hey girl, on some dating app, and, they get matched, or whatever app you're on, or swipe right.
Just on Instagram.
Or even just on Instagram. I think a lot of girls get flattered that a boy is interested in them, and then they settle for some guy that just wants sex, or just wants nude photos, or whatever. They want the easy thing. And so another note that I had on this line too is I'm thinking about, like, how we present ourselves as women and what that says to men. Can we go there for a second?
Yeah. And I mean, that is also what attracted me to you. You were put together, right?
Yeah.
Like, you did your hair, you presented yourself well, and that might not be for every guy. Like, every guy was not gonna be like, man, I need a girl that, like, goes the whole nine and, makeup all over her face and she just looks like, just done up. Like, I don't think that's what every guy wants, or, guys might want the opposite. But, when a woman takes care of herself, like, that's attractive, because then it's like she could help take care of me, or, of others, and she's ready to, like, do life, what's ahead of her, but if she's, like, not put together, that says something.
Yeah, it kind of just talks a little bit about the amount of effort put forth. And I think it's not to say that, every girl has their messy bun, like, sweats day. Like, come on, we all have periods, am I right? Dionis is very comfortable with talking about periods. But but I think what we're talking about here is more effort, along lines of effort and feeling like you are presentable to the world. And
yeah, and I mean, even you could do yourself up and be over presented.
yes.
And that is just a trap.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of girls will flaunt what they've got, and that's a whole other side of things.
Yeah, it's really easy for a guy to like be attracted just to that. And girls are so much more than their body.
Yeah.
And man, I think that's just a game that guys play, is that like, man, this girl's like, she's got it all going on, but like her inside might be really just trash,
Yeah.
And so, or she's a gem, but they only leave her at skin level.
Right. Because that's all they see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's really important for us as women too, to present ourselves in the way that we should be presenting ourselves. Because I think we have to take into account that men, and this isn't just putting men in a box, but it is like they are wired this way. They are more visual than we are. They just are. And I think, thus, this is why pornography is rampant in our society. And I know that pornography is not just a man-guy thing, but it's a girl thing too. But like, I think that in how we present ourselves, if a guy's trying to get to know me and he actually is interested in me for more than just my body, but I am showing way too much of my body, it's going to be a lot harder for him to focus mentally on getting to know me for me while I'm showing too much of my body. Does that make sense? And then if a guy isn't really wanting to get to know me for me, then you just handed him exactly what he wanted. And maybe
that leaves the girl getting heartbroken.
Yeah, because he's only there for the sex anyways. So it's like, girls, let's present ourselves well. Come on now. It's not that hard. So the last question I have for you today, and I'm sorry this is a longer podcast, but thanks for sticking with us. Last question is, would you suggest being friends before you date?
I personally would say yes. That's how I like it. It would have been really hard for me to like meet a girl in a bar and just be like, "Oh hey, what's your name, girl? Like, let's like, you want to come over?" That to me that just is like really weird. And so for me to be able to be friends with this girl first, even starting as acquaintance, like, whether it's like a group of people are going out bowling or going out to eat and then going to a movie or something, and even though now we're in COVID and that's like all those things are nearly impossible. It's kind of nice to be able to like start to look at that person and go, hey, that's how they treat other people, or that's just seeing them in a lens that's not colored, or
there's no pressure of the date.
Yeah. And so like I got to see you be wild and like energetic, and I could go, oh, I actually like people that are energetic and people that are outgoing, mm-hmm. And there might be people that are like, oh, I actually want someone that's more introverted. Mm-hmm. We're both not introverted.
Yeah, obviously.
But I think that in the friend level, like you just get to see so much more of that person. And so you have a good baseline to build a more deeper, intimate relationship off of.
Yeah. You get to see them in their natural element instead of, I think a lot of times when we date people, we put on kind of a facade. And I think that we don't necessarily do it intentionally, but there's just a lot of pressure to be put together, to be someone who you're not, to be maybe a little bit on the fake side.
Yeah, perfect example. I've seen you eat before we were dating. And so like, I mean, you don't eat like a slob or anything, but like sometimes people smack, but like out on a date, you're like, oh, I need to like.
You're talking about my chip crunching, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, side note, Dionis doesn't like how I eat chips. I eat them with extreme force.
But the crunch makes them tastier.
It does. It makes them tastier, okay? But you know what? That's a perfect example, because a lot of the time you'll put yourself together to be like on the more well-behaved side, the perfect side. And what I like about being friends and being acquaintances first is that you actually get to know the person's character from afar. You get to see them interact with people. You get to see how they love others, how they treat others. And it's really hard to get that when it's a swipe right situation or a swipe left or whatever the heck it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like when your first interaction with someone is straight to like, we could be an item. I feel like I get a picture of what are they called when girls wear the like
corset.
Yeah. I feel like it's it's almost like you can't be your full self with that on.
Right.
And like you don't breathe the same, you don't
laugh the same.
Yeah, and like you're just like, eh. And so and you're uptight and you're not like, I don't know. I personally like to be able to see the person like naturally who they are, you know, and sure they might have flaws, but like so do I.
Yeah.
But
and I think this isn't to say that we're like, against online dating, because I think a lot of the world meets now via online dating. I mean, it's just where we're at. Yeah. And I have a lot of friends that have met. I have friends who have gotten married recently who have met on online dating. But I think it's just to say like, okay, you're going to online date. Why don't you set your profile so that people know really who you are? Put a lot of information on there about the fact that you love Jesus. And your values. And really take the time to actually define what those values are. Because if you don't know what your values are, then you're going to waste your time with a bunch of dudes that don't meet those values. So define what your values are. Do they have to be a Christian? Do they have to be heavily involved in church? Do they have to like potato chips dipped in ketchup? I don't know what your thing is, but like define what your values are and stick to them. And honestly, if you're going to do a dating profile, it might be valuable to use those as filters. Girl, I'm just so glad that you tuned in today. It has been super fun to have Dionis with us. I hope that you loved getting to meet him and hearing some of his heart. He's got a huge heart for students as well. Just so you know, remember you're loved, you're valued, you're important, and God is with you this week. Subscribe, follow, give me some stars if you can, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. We're going to be doing a special episode for Thanksgiving. Woohoo! I can't believe it's already Thanksgiving.
This year has gone by fast.
November. The holidays are here. So we'll see you next week. Catch you later.